you, Lord. We're going to be kind of, again, talking about our posture, the kingdom. It all ties together. And last week, wasn't able to really finish what the Lord laid on our heart, or my heart, for the message as far as serving. And serving being one of the ways that us as believers, it's what we're called to do. Just to recap a little bit and not spend too much time, and we know the Bible talks about, there are many members, but there's one body, and each person is called to serve and to do and to use their own unique gift and talent and ability that God has given them to use. Why? It's for the kingdom. It's to build the kingdom. It's to be an example. It's to be there to be something for somebody. And today I'm specifically going to be talking about serving in church. Because you know why this doing the chairs and the carpet and the Isaiah thing is so I feel it's so whatever for our church to just do, and I'm so passionate about it, is because we can think about the generations past that have come through the doors of Word and Spirit Family Church, and before that it was Agape, and it was but then when it moved down here, we can think about all the things, and we can reminisce about the past and all those generations of what God has done. But Word and Spirit Family Church isn't going anywhere, but we have to be here for the remaining and the future generations. And what God wants to do and establish for the generations to come. And we take care of the physical buildings and the natural things, and then with everybody working together in what God has given you to do, we serve. There's ushers, there's sound, there's the band, there's media, there's nursery, there's children's, there's youth, there's grounds, there's events crew, there's what else is on there? Cleaning crew and all these things. Why? Because we want to be slave drivers and give you jobs? No, because what we're going to find out, I'm going to give you 8 benefits of why serving is important for the believer. Serving is important for our posture of about who we are, developing our faith, developing who we are. And it's not really just in the church. It's what we do out in our lives, out in the community, out at our job, out at school, in our family. Today, I'm really kind of just talking about serving church and changing our mentality. No, it's not stacking chairs. Remember, I used this quote from Craig Rochelle last week. He says, "I am a servant of the Most High God. When I serve others, I'm serving Christ." It's having that mindset. I am a servant of the Most High God. It's not cutting grass. It's not changing a diaper. It's not passing a bucket. It's not being all disgruntled because we have an usher shirt and you don't like to wear it. Well, if you don't like to wear it, then don't be an usher. But it's being obedient to and submission and authority. All that goes with it. But it's more than that. It's representing the King. I am a servant of the Most High God. When I serve others, I serve Christ. The Bible says I work as unto the Lord. Right. I'm serving Jesus. I'm going to go through some scriptures. You don't have to turn there. Ephesians 2:10 says, "For we are His workmanship, created in Christ for good works, that God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them." Anybody would love the opportunity to be a leader and to lead something and to have a thing. But listen, if servanthood is below you, then leadership is beyond you. I mean, I've watched our 2002, 20, how many years since we graduated? I don't know. It's going to be 22 years since we graduated Bible school. And we did youth and children's ministry, and you know the story, all the things. And I've watched friends of mine who are younger than me that graduated with me, that they got right into ministry, got right into building churches and being in a pastor role. That wasn't for me during those times, and I had to be okay with it. I can't focus on those distractions. I'm focused on what God's called me to do right now, which is youth and children's and outreach and being a support to my pastor. Yeah. Right. Even if I have to do it with my teeth gritted, and I had to do that a lot. Bite my tongue. But it's not about me. It's about the church. It's about serving. It's about, and I was talking with someone here the other day. I said, really when it comes down to it, when it comes to church, you have to ask yourself, am I called to the minister, or am I called to the mission? Am I called to the pastor, or am I called to the place that he pastors? Am I called to support the church? Because pastors come and pastors go, and it's really, it's almost like people to stay married anymore. If people stay married beyond 20, 25 years, that's something. I remember back, we're celebrating our 50th wedding anniversary or our 60th wedding anniversary. That was a milestone. Now it's like gone downhill. It's now if you're married 15, 20 years, that's an accomplishment. Yeah, right? And so, pastors, some, come and go and move around. In some denominations, they strategically do that. They'll put a pastor, you're going to serve here for a while, then we're going to pluck you out and put you. How can you do that? How can you shepherd people if you're constantly moving around? You got to be with the sheep, smell like the sheep, look like the sheep. Bah! That's my sheep impression. It's not a good one, but it's all I got. I don't know if I got it in me. Do it for me, Paul. I got to save some things in me, and you're going to see here in a little bit an illustration I'm going to do. So I need everything that I have within me, and you'll see why. Huh? Yeah. So you have to ask yourself, no matter who the pastor is, I'm here to serve the church. Now, it's different. If the pastor is saying things, it's like, then go ask him, question, talk to him, whatever. Can I'm I don't like what he looks like. I don't like how he talks. I don't like how, and God's like, you're focused on the wrong thing, man. Because it ain't about you. It's about the kingdom, and it's about your place, and it's about serving. I'm going to work in your heart, but I can't work on your heart in a place of serving if you're focused on what is happening, what ain't happening, what he's doing, what he ain't doing. Philippians says, when Jesus said, let this mind be in you, which was in Christ, he took the form of a servant. He humbled himself, took the form of a servant, and he came down like man, and he taught us how to serve. He's like, this is your example. And that word servant, we kind of unpack that word servant, and it means this, to bond, knit, tie, or wind together. It actually means when you go, because if you look into a concordance, if you ever do a word study, I mentioned this last week, if you do a word study, you can look up the word servant, for example. It'll give you the numbers. You'll find it in the Greek or the Hebrew, and you read it, and sometimes it'll give you a description, and it'll say, this word was taken from this word, and it gives you another number, and then you go look up that number, and what are you doing? You're building a foundation and a more understanding of what that word really means. And this word had that with it. Most of them do. So I followed that word, and it's essentially the same, but it had a little bit more, and it actually also means not only to bond, knit, tie, or wind together, but it's all things necessary as to have the same mindset of meeting needs. It's less of me and more of you. It's, hey, what's happening? What's going on? Think about our friend up in Rushville. Her world stopped. Immediately stopped. She might have had plans on doing housework, going to Walmart, doing things, going to the grocery store. Not anymore. That ceased to exist. But you know who else it ceased to exist for? The ones who really cared about her and said, you know what? Your world stopped, and I'm putting my world on pause because you're more important than what I had to do today. I need to be there for you. And I'm sure that you don't always have to know what to say or have the right words to say, but just being there. Just your presence of being there. And let them cry. Let them cry with them, and just hold them and be there. Because sometimes just knowing that somebody's with you, whether they say anything or not, means more than words could ever mean. It says, I am a servant of the Most High God. When I'm serving others, I'm serving Christ. And we talked about, we looked in Acts chapter 9. I was going to say 4, Acts chapter 9. About the woman, her name was Tabitha. She lived in a little town called Joppa, and we made fun because her name in the Greek literally meant Dorcas, and we're like, what kind of parents would name your kids Dorcas? But that actually, that word means like a gazelle, like a beautiful, like a deer. So apparently she might have been a really beautiful woman. I don't know, but her ministry, Because people get this mindset, well, I'm going to serve in the church. I can't sing. I can't play guitar. I don't want to talk in front of people. I don't want to. Listen, I never wanted to talk in front of people. I barely squeaked through English in school when we had to get up and do like presentations and stuff. I didn't want to do it. Matter of fact, I didn't have nothing prepared. And if I didn't get up and do it, we had to do a speech and a demonstration speech. And I'm like, just fail me now. And my teachers wouldn't let me. They're like, no, I'm going to pass you, Tuggle. Do something. I'm like, ooh. They're like, if you would just do something, I will pass you. What am I going to do? So I went up and I'm like, I took her stapler off her desk. And I'm like, this is a stapler. Is this how you load staples in a stapler? And I went through a whole thing. Yeah, I'm like, and I passed. But I didn't want to be in front of people. Now it's kind of what I do. And there are a lot of Sundays I still don't like to be in front of y'all. Not because of you, but because it's an inside thing. It's like, oh, man, here I go again. And somebody had reminded me lately that they're thinking about all the years that you've served and sowed, you and Miss Delaney, and all the other things. Apparently, God knows what He's doing and is leading you up to this point. And if you weren't ready, you would not be in this position yet. And I was thankful for that reminder, and I have to remind myself every time I stand here, Lord, I am not good at this. I don't know how to pastor, but you do. I didn't go to the pastor's group at Rhema. I was going to be the next Josh McDowell or Jeannie Mayo, and I was going to be youth until I died. I was going to, be 90 and wearing the Jordans and the stuff and having youth conferences. That was my heart. And youth, that's still my heart, but God's like, funny, got something else planned for you. Okay. But being faithful in the moments and the things that God has for you then will lead you to different places. And a lot of places that when you grow and God elevates you, it's going to come with more responsibility. It's going to come with more challenges. It's going to come with, but it's all about growth. Right. It's about growth and exercising faith. And my gosh, I'm like, Lord, how much more faith do I have? There's a lot of faith it takes to be a pastor. And to cover things and to believe for things and to be there for people and to help people and not lead them astray and all the stuff. It's like, yeah, hey, why don't you guys do this? Let me pick the Sunday, though. Her dad used to always say, you want to be pastor? That's great. You can be pastor. Let me pick the week. Let me pick the week when you can be the pastor. But Tabitha, her ministry wasn't one of any great thing in front of everybody, but her ministry was one of making clothes. That was what she was skilled at. That was well, God, how could I be used to make clothes? He's like, you already do. What can I do for you that's going to give you honor and glory by making clothes? Well, she would make these clothes and give them to widows. And she would take care of the less fortunate people that couldn't afford clothes. She'd make clothes. I don't know if she made a living. I mean, apparently God took care of her. Didn't say she was poor without, but she had the means and the income and the funds and everything she needed to buy the material and everything to make clothes. So she made clothes. Now, I'm sure that when she was like 12 years old, she didn't just whip out like a ballroom gown. You got to start somewhere. So I'm sure she started making things for her dolls and things like that. But the more we talked about David. David, I'm sure he was out there tending sheep. And what was he doing? He was honing in on and developing his skill with a slingshot. He's out there setting up Dr. Pepper cans and just practicing. Because one day God's going to need him to slay a giant. In all those years of dealing with sheep and scooping sheep poop and practicing slingshots and being the youngest of his brothers and being made fun of and called the runt, you're not nothing, you're whatever. He was faithful with what God, and he became king. He was elevated. He wasn't seeking the position, but anyway, that's a whole other sermon. And then Jesus, we talked about Jesus being the servant when he washed his disciples' feet and he put on the servant's towel. He wrapped it around his waist and he knelt down and Peter's like, what are you doing? Listen, you how to love one another and to be there. He talked about, when I was hungry, you fed me. When I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. When I was in prison, you visited me. When I was sick. And the disciple said, when were you ever hungry or sick or in prison? When were you ever without? When did we ever come and do these things? And he said, surely I say unto you, whatever you did for the least of these, you've done unto me. See, it's not about you're a servant of the Most High. What you do, it's not stacking chairs and moving chairs. It's not setting up tents for picnics. It's not coming and decorating your trunk for trunk or treat because well, they'll say something if I don't come. No. Squash that mindset. You're a servant of the Most High God. What you do for others, you're doing unto Jesus. You're doing unto Him. There's a bigger picture. All right, that's the recap. So how can I serve and what can I do? First of all, you have to understand that serving, it should be out of an overflow from our relationship with God. It should come from out of an overflow from our relationship with God. See, I've grown up in church. But I've got church attachments because before I was born, all my family grew up in church, started church. I mean, we got roots and go deep. So I've seen a thing or two. I know a thing or two because I've seen a thing or two. What's that commercial? And I've seen church people that have been around the block 10,000 different times, and they're like, just kind of get in a rut and kind of in a thing, and it's kind of what. And then I've seen brand new people that have an encounter with God and get saved and born again, and they're like, what can I do? They're excited to be like, where can I serve? Well, I got to share this. I got to do something. You have those people that are brand new. And then the church people who've been in church forever discourages the new people, just like, well, this is what you have to look forward to. Well, let's go back to the bar. Why would I want to be? Oh, man. You don't have to turn there, but in Matthew 25, you can if you want. I'm just going to kind of paraphrase through it. Matthew 25 and beginning in verse 14. This is the story of the parable of the talents. And we know the master gave one, he gave and to another he gave one, or bags of silver, and they took what they were given. And the one that had 5 bags, the parable goes, the one that had 5 bags took it and he went and invested, he went and did something with it. And the one who had the 2, he took it and he went and did something with what he was given. And the knucklehead that was given 1 bag, what'd he do? He buried it. He didn't do anything with it. So when it's time to come back, they went back to the master, and the one that had the 5 said, Master, I took it and I went and did some stuff. I doubled your money. Here you go. He says, well done. And the guy that had 2, I said, Master, I used what you've given me, and I went out and did something with it, and it made you more. Here you go. He said, well done. And to the one that was servant was given 1 bag, he said, well, I know that you're a harsh man. That's a nice way of saying, well, you're a jerk. And I was afraid that I wouldn't know how to do something with what you gave me. I was afraid and I was nervous because what you'd given me, I didn't feel qualified to do. Hold on. See, the enemy doesn't want you to know this. I didn't feel qualified to take the one that you gave me and to go do anything. And I was afraid that it wouldn't produce anything. And because you're a jerk and a harsh man and whatever, I went and buried it. See, he's trying to make it look good. I still have your money. But to the master, he's like, but you didn't make me any more. you weren't faithful with what I gave you. So how does this benefit me? And he said he called him what? He called him a wicked and lazy servant. You wicked and lazy servant. See, I think, what has God given you? And the enemy is always right there to say, you're not qualified. You can't handle it. You can't, I've never seen myself serving in that capacity. Yeah, well, get out of your head. See yourself as God sees you. See, in church, there are two different groups of people. There are consumers and there are contributors. A contributor, that's someone who says, a contributor is someone who gives more than they take, while the consumer is someone that takes more than they give. The consumer says, what's in it for me? And the contributor says, what can I do for you? There's, I'm at that point. Okay. You'll know here in a minute. I'm just going to, I've seen it in different other military divisions, and I've talked to several different people that are in different branches of military and asking them, what's that called when they do this? They're like, we just made to do it. We don't know what it's called. And some are like, well, we never did that. We always had to do it a different way. So I'm going to just pick the SEALs. The Navy SEALs, they go through, it's called BUDS training. I can't remember what the B stands for. It's underwater explosive something, underwater detonation. I don't remember. I should have looked it up. It's BUDS training. And part of BUDS, when they go through, every branch has like a really hard week that they go through before they become a soldier. The Marines go through, what is it called, Hell Week, that the Marines go through. You're not a Marine until you get through this training. It's really rigorous, hardcore training. Then you earn your Eagle, Globe, and Anchor. Now you have the title Marine. And then like the Army had, what was it, when you did it also, what was it called? The Forge. Like days of like deprived sleep and all these things, physical things you got to do to become a soldier. One of the things the Navy SEALs has to do is and it's either like a team of 6 or 8 guys, and they have to pick up their raft. They each have a raft, and I don't know for how long, but they have to hold this raft above their head. It can't touch their head, I don't think. It can't touch their shoulder, any part of their body, but they have to work together to hold this raft. They either have to just stand in place or they have to walk through the beach. Now, if you've never been to the beach, walking in sand isn't all that easy, especially if you're I've never done it carrying something above my head, but I can only imagine. And you have to work together as a team. Okay. I don't have a raft. But I've seen people, and I couldn't figure out, can I hand that? Thank you. I'm good. Where it wasn't a raft, but it was like an 8 or a 10-foot log or a big piece of timber. And some branches, I believe, this is like a punishment thing. If they didn't do what they were supposed to do, then they had to take this log and suspend it above their head as like, hey, we got in trouble. This is punishment. It's not fun. Let's not do it again. And you know it's not light. And they have to hold this. They can't rest it on their shoulder. They can't rest it on they have to hold it and hold it there until the drill sergeant says, okay, do whatever. So, I got to get ready here. I don't have a raft, even though I thought about buying one. I thought that'd be really cool, but I'm like, what can I do with it afterwards? I don't know. I don't have a big, telephone. I was looking for a big telephone pole or something. I don't have that. But what I do have are 3 8-foot 2x12s that were buried in our shed that we cleaned out, and I'm like, hey, that'll work. And I screwed them together, and right now, they're on this cart, like this. I know you won't be able to see them. And I'm in front of that speaker, so it's picking up some feedback. So, I'm about to do something here. I'm going to be like Mr. Miyagi and break them all. No, I'm not. I'm not that stupid. Now, these are heavy. These are not light. I don't know how much these weigh. What's that pickup line? How much does a polar bear weigh enough to break the ice? Is that like a smoothing? Be ready for Valentine's Day next year. I've just come across the 10 top Christian pickup lines, and they're hilarious. They're hilarious, so be ready. These are 8-footers. I tried to brush them off as best as I can. Oh, that's got a staple in it. I didn't know that. All right. On Christ, the solid rock I stand. Okay. This, like I said, I don't know how much this weighs. It's not light. 2x12s, I don't think they're not treated, I don't think. Because treated lumber weighs more than not treated lumber. But this, I don't know. I meant to put it on a scale to see, but it didn't matter. They're heavy. So what I want to try to do, I'm 45, is, no, don't clap yet. So, okay. Some churches look like this. The pastor is carrying all the load. He's the grounds guy. He's the pastor. He's the worship leader. He's cleaning. He's doing all the, I don't know why I'm walking. I should not have walked, but now I've got momentum going. I got to stop. He's doing all the things. And unfortunately, I could moonwalk, did you? This is what a lot of churches look like, where he's doing like all the stuff. But yet, people show up in church, and they'll benefit from the message. They'll benefit from, the service, the clean building, the nice cut grass. They'll come and do an event here or there. Oh, thank you, Pastor. The pastor's like, yep, I'm doing it because I love you. And you'll never hear any complaints out of pastors like this. Now, before I vomit, I'm wondering if I could get 3 strong guys that can maybe come up here and help me, maybe probably the same height. Oh, here come. Oh, I need John will come. Austin's coming. Who else is coming? Anybody come behind me? Oh, Andrew, look at this. Okay, so you take the front. I'm going to scoot up. Okay, now hang on a second. I got to fix my britches. All right, now, here's what we're going to do. We're not going to let this touch our body. Not our shoulders, not our head. We're going to keep it up. Oh, that was light. And let's just walk towards the door that's in front of you. Okay, ready? Here we go. Oh, that's so much easier. Look at that. That is so much. Yeah. Somebody give us some chance. All right, that's so much easier. Okay, now stop. So I'm going to give you guys, so Austin, you're number 1. I'm number 2. Who's behind me? Andrew, number 3. And John, you're number 4. Okay, so without touching anything, we're going to do an about face and turn around without touching our shoulders. All right, now let's go back the other way, slowly. Now this is what, okay, stop. This is what serving should look like. This is support that the church should look like. Hey, we're all doing our part to carry the load together. Okay, ready, go. But there are some that won't. They'll go to church, they'll go forward with the way the church is going, and then everybody else is made to pick up their slack. Oh, they're doing a good job. They don't need me. That's whatever. I don't know. Okay, ready? Stop. All right, now we're going to turn again. We're going to go back without touching. Ready? One more time. When we get in the middle, stop. Here we go. Now, Andrew, let go. I'm going to let go. You guys got it? We're going with the church. We're moving with the church. Everybody else has it. They're doing a good job. We don't need to do anything. Okay, stop. Okay. You 3 got it? I'm going to talk a second. Here, you want to scoot up? You good?
Yeah.
Need some water?
Nope.
Okay. Need a nap?
Maybe.
there's people that just won't help, that won't serve, that won't do anything. But yet they'll come and enjoy the service. They'll come and enjoy the picnics. They'll come and enjoy the outreaches. They'll come and do the stuff. Pick up the weight from everything else. I am going to go there because this is also an example of tithing. Because there's a small majority that carry the financial load and stress and pressure of the church, but then there are some that will come and enjoy the service, enjoy the stuff, and then whatever, and they're a tipper. They might give 10 here or 10 there, but yet how do you expect the church to function and the church to move if it doesn't have a team of people that are using the gifts that God's called them to do? So that Word and Spirit Family Church, for Abundant Life, for Bread of Life, for all these churches down here can continue to make an impact for generations to come. So what's God called me to do? It's insignificant. You're not insignificant when you're working with other people. Because when I was holding this by myself, about to pass out, as soon as the help came, the load was lighter. And we were able to, all right, thanks, guys. So you can set this on the stage if you can, maybe on edge, and so people can see that. Give them a hand. Awesome. All right, church is dismissed. But we all have a part to play. No matter how big, no matter how small. And so you have to ask yourself, Lord, I don't want to just be one of the people that are just sitting by. What can I do? Ask Him. He'll tell you, what can I do? And there might be a thing to where, you know what, I'm just going to try different things until I find what I'm good at. I'm going to find the area that I know that I can do. Right. And if there isn't, then, hey, let's make something. Right. I never thought about, I could sew. Does our church have a sewing ministry? No, but let's start one. What are we going to do with it? Give clothes to people that need clothes. Where's the income going to come from? Where's the material going to come from? Hey, if God's called you to do it, then He's going to bring people across your path that'll help support your ministry. Because you know what else? Here's something else, kind of talking about the financial thing. There's a splinter. It's all right. It's a long way from my heart. I'll live. There are some people that you know what their calling is, you know what their ministry is? It's to be that financial support. Did you know back in the 60s, there was a group called the Christian Businessmen's Association? Remember them? It was a big thing. And there were, like, Brother Hagin was involved in it, Oral Roberts was involved in it, all the who's who. And Christian businessmen. That God's given us the ability to grow and have a successful, thriving business. And I'm not called to preach. I'm not called to do anything else. I'm called to support the ministry that God's laid on my heart financially. That's a ministry. Some might not be called to do certain things, but that's Brother Dan Nolan, when he was here, he's in heaven now. That was him. And he's helped do some. I remember these parking lot lights back here. He brought his big telehandler in and helped us. I wasn't here that day. I was working, but helped raise the parking lot lights. He had the machinery. He had the equipment. Why? He was rich. He was blessed. He had the equipment. He came and helped do that. He's like, I don't preach. I don't. Her dad, we were still in Root House, had Brother Dan come up and talk and minister one time. He's like, this is way out of my comfort zone. He was just talking about, how he, putting God first and being a good stewardship of the money that God gave him. And he talked about the importance of tithing and sowing and all the things. He's like, I'm blessed because of it. But he was one of the biggest givers in this church that I know. And I don't know how much he gave because that's what he was called to do. But it was several $100,000 over however his years. How could he do that? Because that's what he was blessed and called to do. Being on the fire department, you have a roster of about 30 or 40 10 p.m., midnight, and it's for something like, a sick call or something. You're always going to have, we call them the faithful few, 5 to about 8 guys that are always going to show up, no matter what. And they're running the majority of the calls. Now, you get something that's fun, that's whatever, it's a big fire. All the other guys come out of the woodwork. You never see them at a meeting. You never see them at a training. All they care about is having a T-shirt, and somebody goes, "Oh, you're a firefighter?" "Well, yes, I am." There's a lot of them, people. They got decals and bumpers and stuff on their pickup trucks and cars because, "Well, you a firefighter?" "Yes, I am." And it's like, I've never seen you at a fire. I've never seen you at a training. I've never seen you at a meeting. But you want the status. Oh, it's aggravating. Because the faithful few are the ones that they're responding to, the ones that no one else wants to respond to. The faithful few are the ones that stay after, that are cleaning off the fire hose, that are rolling it up. It's a mundane job. It's a low man's, if you say it that way, on the totem pole type of job. I was blessed to work alongside some really great captains and lieutenants and chiefs that were down there rolling hose with everybody, cleaning the trucks with everybody. But that's what serving in the church looks like. Can you imagine just what can be done if a church, if every member in a church put their hand and did something to serve the kingdom? Limitless possibilities. Limitless. You know, I just learned this. I thought it was pretty cool. One of the many videos that we went out to Bakers and Hale with the Prime group on Friday night, and I got made fun of again because of the amount of useless information I tend to have and the amount of things I read and watch and stuff, but you never know, it might come in handy. And like today, one of those things is coming in handy. And where's Tara at? Is she teaching? Well, there's Zach. Something was said about, Tara said something about she just has like the same plethora of knowledge. And I said, I've actually sat and thought, if I was a contestant on Family Feud, who would be in my family? Tara would be one of them because she knows a bunch of stuff. My cousin Missy would be one. Yeah, for sure. And so, but one of the things I read was that one of the strongest and largest horses in the world is a Belgian. What's it called? Belgian. I wrote the Belgian something. A Belgian draft horse. A Belgian draft horse. So I started looking up stuff about the Belgian draft horses, and so one Belgian draft horse by himself can pull 8,000 pounds. 8,000 pounds. Searching all this, it led me to a video from another pastor using this as an illustration. And I'm like, huh. And he said, so when you have two Belgian draft horses, how much do you think they can pull then? It's not 16,000. If one Belgian draft horse can pull 8,000 pounds, two Belgian draft horses working together, the same goal, the same training, the same whatever, two Belgian draft horses can pull 32,000 pounds. That's a lot of weight. This feels like 32,000 pounds. And so the question is, I liked how he said, the question is, he was talking to his church. He goes, when a church comes together, everyone together in unity around Jesus, when everyone pulls together the same direction, what is possible? So here you go. What are the benefits? What are things that can help us in serving and helping? And you're like, well, I came to get prayed for and fall over today. I came to get a word of knowledge today. You know what? You know what Brother Hagin says about that type of stuff? He goes, that's all great, but he goes, that's dessert. He says, what we need as believers that are going to help us in life is the meat of the word, is cake. Everything else is just icing. Everything else is just icing. We thank God for it. The times where He moves and there's a word of knowledge, there's a tongue and interpretation, there's healings, there's manifestations, there's things like that. But those things will not keep you in life. Sometimes it's just good old solid word and things that I can apply to my life. Ephesians says that we're called and we're made to build the church, that God made each one. I'm going to do a lot of reading here, things I've wrote down over the weeks. Unique talents, personalities, and skill sets. In that moment we ask Jesus into our life, every person is given a spiritual gift, a talent, an ability, a calling that it would ultimately honor God. So number one, serving allows us to discover and develop our spiritual gifts. Serving allows us to discover and develop our spiritual gifts. We've already kind of talked about it. 1 Corinthians talks about the church is one body but many parts. Just like the bodies have many parts, the ear, the eyes, the nose, the Scripture talks about the hand, the foot. One can't say, I'm not that, so I'm no of value. The church is made up of people with many skill sets and abilities. Every piece, every part is useful. Hey, when I was holding this up here, I don't care who came and helped me. Every person was useful. Because if it was just one other person, it's that less amount of weight that I had to hold on to. And when another person came, now it's that less amount of weight that the two of us had to hold on to and carry. We were all doing our part, working together. Serving allows us to discover or develop our spiritual gifts. That's why I said, I don't know where I want to serve at. I want to help, I want to serve. I don't know what I'm good at. Well, try multiple things. I promise you'll find your niche. Even if it's something that you know, develop. As long as it's helping people and honoring God, we'll do it. Serving allows us to discover and develop our spiritual gifts. Number two, serving allows us to experience miracles. Serving allows us to experience miracles. In John chapter 2, it talks about, that was the first miracle of Jesus, the wedding banquet, when He turned water into wine. They ran out of wine. If you watch The Chosen, it's probably one of my favorite episodes when he did that. It was pretty cool. He turned water into wine. They ran out of wine, and Mary called on Jesus. Well, how does... Because the servants who were there saw what Jesus did. The servants that were pouring wine said, there is no more. And after Jesus came out, after they went and gathered all the pots and pitchers they could find, He said, fill it with water. They're like, well, that's not wine. He goes, fill it with water. Well, that's not wine. He's like, fill it with water. We argue with Jesus so many times. We're like, what? That doesn't make sense. He's like, I didn't ask you to try to find the sense in it. I'm just needing you to be obedient and do what I say, and then watch what I will do with what I give you. He's like, watch what I'll do with what I gave you. The pots, fill them with water. And they turned into wine. And the wedding banquet, the main guy, the wedding coordinator said, usually the hosts save the best wine, they give the best wine first, and when everybody's basically snookered, they bring out the lesser wine, the poorer wine, because they're too drunk to notice this wine is terrible. It's like going to the winery and getting the most expensive bottle of wine and starting with that, and you end up with great value in a box. All these special box. But he said, this is the first wedding banquet I've been to that these hosts saved the best for last. Anything that comes from Jesus is going to be the best. Serving allows us to experience miracles. The first thing that came to my mind was going and serving. All God's kids should have shoes. If you never had the opportunity to do that, to take a little one and walk around the store and help them find shoes, and the moment that was like just hit me in my heart and all the feels was when I had this little boy. No, it was a girl. And we were walking around because they give you the option. They give the kids the option. Would you like to wear these or take them home? And most of them want to wear them right then. They're new shoes, man. Yeah. And we looked and looked and looked and looked and looked, and we finally found the right pair for this little girl. Here I am, and it's crowded. Everybody's going around. There's boxes everywhere and stuff, and I'm down on my knees looking for stuff. And no. And I'm like, well, I want you to have the right one. I want you to want what you get. I want you to like them. So we finally found her shoes. I'm serving. I'm helping. I'm sweating. I'm doing all this stuff and making sure, keeping my eye on her. There's kids everywhere. Make sure, And I said, no, honey, do you want to wear these home? She goes, no. I think I'll put them back in the box. And I said, are you sure? Because I'm thinking, look, they're all wearing them. Are you sure you don't want to wear your shoes? And she looked at me. I don't know, I remember how old she was. She looked at me. It's almost like we were having an adult conversation. She goes, well, if I put them in the box, I know that I'll have something to open on Christmas. And I wanted to say, let's go buy you 5 more pair. Let's go. Man, what was the miracle in that? I got to be Jesus to her. And I'm thinking, I'm praying for you. I'm like, oh man, you guys need to be in church. Hold you and hug you and give you everything. The miracle in that was, at that moment, and I never thought this, but at that moment, I really knew this was not wasting my time. That very moment, I knew that this was the hands and feet of Jesus. Well, it didn't happen in a church. Yeah, it didn't need to always happen in a church. All right, number 3. Serving allows us to experience the joy and the peace that comes from obedience. Serving allows us to experience the joy and the peace that comes from obedience. 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 10 and 11 says this: each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others. See, this isn't just me telling you to do this. This is the Word. It says, each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in various forms. Why various forms? Because it takes a small army. Everybody has different things we're going to do together to accomplish the mission that Word and Spirit Family Church is going to do. So that in all things God may be praised through Jesus Christ. Serving is a form of worship. It's a scripture. It's a way to express gratitude for what Jesus has done for us and to share the love and grace we've been given. Number 4, serving helps us to be more like Jesus. Serving helps us to be more like Jesus. How? It's because we shift our focus off of ourselves and onto serving others. We begin to see them the way Jesus sees them. We begin to see Jesus in others. Again, he said, what you did for the least of these, you've done unto me. So all I do is greet. Hey, you know what? I think greeters at churches have one of the most, I think everybody has. There's in the usher's room, it talks about usher, no vision. I pass a bucket. I tell people to be quiet. I tell people where to sit. That's no vision. Then vision has a longer list. Hey, I am in charge of a section that I pray over, that I cover in the Spirit, so that because God has put me in this area, this section, the people who need to hear what God has for them will be able to hear what God has for them because He's put me in charge to be the captain of this section. It's not just passing a bucket. See, what you did for the least, it says, I have the most important job at my church. Every area we made cards with the description is, I have the most important job at my church. But you know that people, visitors, newer people, if they come and visit your church, they're going to know within about 5 minutes if they're coming back. Even the way the grass looks, even the way the parking lot looks, they're going to already know. How many of you've been on vacation, you've been driving, think you're going to push through? It's like, let's just get a room for the night. You're going to be picky with what hotel you're staying at, I promise you. This one looks like it's in the heart of East St. Louis. There's chalk drawings on the parking lot, and it's not from hopscotch. It's not little kids drawing. That's like an outline of a body. You're probably not going to stay there. You're going to know by driving by. Or this one looks, they care about their facilities. Me and Jonathan, and Pastor Dave went bird hunting down at Uncle Roger's Game Preserve in Southern Illinois, and we went down and hung out and had dinner with them. We were going to do a bird hunt early the next morning, so we went and stayed at this motel in this little town. On the outside, it was kind of, whatever. And me and Jonathan shared a room. Pastor had his own room. And the only thing it was missing was the chalk line of a body and caution tape. The towels, because most hotels, they have white towels and things like that. Every one of them had stains on them, and I'm not going to tell you, they were just a stain. There was, I don't know how long it had been since it had been dusted, vacuum cleaned, whatever. The bed, and of course, I'm not going to call, if this is the best you got, why would I call room service and be like, and so I slept with my clothes on, shoes and everything, and I had a hoodie on, and that hood was pulled up. And in Jonathan's bed, he gets over in his bed, and these beds, when you bump into it, it's like, it's like, we're 900 years old, please don't lay on us anymore. We've been used enough. Ease into mine like I'm getting on a hammock. And I laid on top of the blankets. I laid on top of the blankets because that was the best option, because the floor had stains and stuff on it. I'm like this, barely trying to breathe. I look over at Jonathan, he's kind of laying there, and all of a sudden his bed goes boom, boom, like that. His bed breaks. I'm like, I hope we kill 1 million birds tomorrow. So needless to say, we almost went out and slept in a pickup truck. So we had no sleep that night. We're getting up at like 5 a.m., 5:30, going to go out and get ready and, go kill some birds. But we're hunters. I'm sorry if you're not a hunter and you hug trees and you love all animals or pets. We killed pheasants and quail and chukars. They're very tasty. So we get up the next morning, sleepy, we're tired. Now we're going to go shoot stuff, tired. Here come Pastor Dave. Oh, I haven't slept that well. And what do you mean? Did we stay at the same motel? We didn't even take a shower because I was afraid of what would come out of the shower head. The bathtub was nasty. I didn't bring flip-flops to put, I've gone on mission trips before. It's like, bring flip-flops, bring shower shoes. I had my sneakers, and then I had my hunting boots. I'm like, we'll just go buy some baby wipes or something, or we're guys, we'll just make it happen. He's like, I took a bath. I'm like, you do? You did? Don't touch me. I don't know what's in that water, and I don't know what's on your skin now. You took a bath? Oh, it was clean. It was whatever. I said, who made this reservation? Because I'm telling you, if we come back and do this again, I'm either sleeping outside or I'm not coming. I will, And Jonathan is like, there was a gas station that was open all night long. We went over there for some snacks, and we almost went over there and just hung out all night. Because it's like, we might as well just, stay up, hang out with the truckers that are coming in. How did I get on this? Yeah, you're picky. So when the greeters come in, they know within about 5 minutes if they're going to come back or not. So how you are as a greeter, I've mentioned this before. It's like you don't want to put someone like, we went out to eat last night with David and Michelle, and we were talking about Disneyland and stuff. And I remember we took the girls were 7 when we first went to Disney. So it really was not about rides. It was all about hunting down princesses and getting their autograph. So we're chasing princesses all over. And I'll tell you, I have a picture. Brave, right? Merida? Brave. If you've never seen Brave, she's like the Irish princess or whatever. Her name is Merida. The person that played her looks I kid you not, looks like Carrot Top. Carrot Top is a comedian in Las Vegas. Do not YouTube him. But the resemblance, it was creepy. Like, I'm staring at this character. I'm like, you're Carrot Top. I know you are. But we were doing this Tinkerbell thing. And we come off of the Tinkerbell ride, and my shirt, because, if you Donald Duck, his character is usually just kind of just, Donald Duck, just kind of whatever. Always kind of grumpy, Donald Duck. And so the picture on my shirt was Donald Duck, like, just had this grumpy look on his face. And I get off of the Tinkerbell ride, and when you get off of the Tinkerbell ride, you're automatically in the gift shop. That's smart marketing. You're automatically in the gift shop, and so we're walking around, and of course, Disney, is it Disney World in Florida? Disneyland? World. The happiest place on earth, but 98% of them look like Donald Duck. And I'm walking around, I had that revelation, and there's like kids are like, I don't want that, I don't want that. And mom, I wish I never had you. And those parents are like, ah. It's a small world after all. Like the happiest place on earth. And nobody looks like they want to be here. Not happy at all. So you would never put somebody like a Donald Duck as a greeter. Welcome to Word Spirit Family Church. Go take your seat. I mean, I'm sure that Walmart has standards. If you want to be a Walmart greeter, I'm sure they're going to kind of fill you out because they don't want someone, like, who's the guy that Jeff Dunham does, Walter? Welcome to Walmart. Get in and get your stuff and get out. You don't want to put that guy in there And so people know within about 5 minutes, that first impression means a lot. And so when we're serving those areas and those things, I talked about a friend of mine that his brother-in-law was a radio host for one of the St. Louis stations in the morning. And I asked him, I said, I've always wondered, how do morning talk show, radio show hosts, how are they always so chipper and happy in the morning? And he goes, we've had, Billy Greenwood was his name. He was on 98.1 and 102.5, 103.3 this time. He goes, I've asked him about that before. And he goes, because I'm paid not to be, they make sure that I'm taken care of because it's about, so in other words, you check your attitude at the door, and if you have to fake it till you make it, then fake it, baby, fake it. Because they paid them to make sure that everybody else is fighting in St. Louis traffic is having a good day. How many times I've come and served in church over the years, and it's like, okay, let's go be Jesus. Serving helps us to be more like Jesus. It's, you know what, I'm going to put aside my things. I'm going to put aside my bad day. I'm going to represent Jesus. Number 5, serving surrounds us with other Christians that can help us in following Jesus. I want to read this. When we're working side by side with other people, a bond inevitably will form. This is part of God's plan for how the church is supposed to work. That's why Hebrews says it instructs us to spur up one another towards love and good deeds, and not giving up meeting or assembling together, but encouraging one another. Number 6, serving increases our faith. Holy cow, it's 11:45. Serving increases our faith. As you move out of your comfort zone, your faith is going to increase, and it's going to reveal new potential in yourselves and in the church. When you find out that thing that God can use to help somebody else, the enemy's always going to come and try to convince you that you don't have it, you don't get it, you need more training, you need more practice, you need more, you just better just not even to go or just to not do nothing. But when you step out in faith and begin using what God has given you, your faith is going to be elevated to a whole new level, I promise. And in doing so, God's going to reveal to you that you're capable of doing more than you thought you could. Again, one of my favorite quotes is, God never calls the qualified, He qualifies the called. We're all called. The devil's going to tell you you're not qualified to do this. You can't greet, you can't usher, you can't sing, you can't do this, you can't mow, you can't. I'm going to work on the gift. I'm going to practice the gift. I'm going to sharpen my skills and what God's called me to do to be better to serve Him, because I'm a servant of the Most High God. When I serve, He's going to equip me and help me. See, practice doesn't, you heard, practice makes perfect. That's the old saying. Practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes improvement. I love that quote. Practice doesn't make perfect, it makes improvement. You're always getting better. You're always trying to reach perfection. You'll probably never attain it, but you might as well learn some things on the way to get there. Serving increases your faith. Number 7, serving allows us to experience God's presence in a new way. Encouragement and healing, they go hand in hand. As we encourage others and they find healing, we are encouraged by that. It's the reason so many people go on missions trips. They come back feeling just completely on the mountaintop. They just feel like they just, I gave so much. What can I do here? I want to give more. You're dealing with people in mission trips overseas, and you're dealing with people that you're seeing miracles happen because they don't have a Western culture or in America telling them that it can't. You're seeing lives changed and touched. It's really hard for the American church to do. It encourages you when the presence is always there. It can do the same thing in Africa and Uganda. It can do the same thing here. And finally, serving is good for your soul. Secular studies, recent studies have shown that volunteering is good for the mind and the body and that it can ease symptoms of stress and depression. Tapping into your gifts and passions, it builds self-confidence, energy, and strength. Serving others can also be the best distraction from your own worries. Why? Because you're thinking about what I'm doing for this other person and less about what's going on in your own life. It's good for you. Non-Christian psychological scientific studies have proven that when you're serving, when you're volunteering, it does something in your natural self. I'm closing with this. We always make all kinds of excuses. I don't have time. I don't know what to do. I don't have the money. I don't have any special skills or qualities. They don't need me. No. God qualifies the called. He never calls the qualified. I am not qualified to do what I'm doing right now. In the natural, I don't like talking in front of people. In the natural, there's things I don't feel adequate playing guitar. There's things that people deal and battle in the natural. But God's always there with the Holy Spirit to remind you, you're there for such a time as this. You are qualified. I didn't call you to be a rock hero legend. I called you to play and honor me with your instrument. Honor me with pastoring. Honor me with getting into the Word and preaching. Honor me with being there for people and praying for people and encouraging others. See, God used men and women all throughout the Word to change the course of history. Moses, he didn't think he was the leader, and he had a speech problem. Yet he led Israel out of slavery, set up going into the promised land. David, we already talked about him. He was the youngest. He was the pipsqueak. He was the sheep tender. He became king. Paul, before he was Paul, he was Saul, and he killed Christians and martyred Christians, and God used him to write 2/3 of the New Testament. Would you stand with me this morning? I apologize for going way over. See, I want you to, here's a takeaway. There's been a lot of takeaways this morning. Here's another good one. God doesn't want to just work in you, He wants to work through you. He doesn't just want to do the work in you, He wants to work through you, because the work He does in you, He's going to use for you to use that to help somebody else. Remember, we're vessels. We're vessels. We're carriers of the kingdom. We're carriers of His presence. We're carriers of His word. God needs and uses people to establish His kingdom. He can't get it done without us. What are we going to let Him use? We ran up to Edwardsville last week. We went to, it's not Barnes & Noble, what is it? Not Books A Million. I was looking for something, and they've got, and they're probably not the only one. Bookstores, they'll have a section called self-help. What we really need is have a section called help others. Help others. So maybe maybe cooking, maybe cleaning, maybe checking on people, talking to people, praying for people. What can God use me to do? How willing are you? Because He needs us all to carry the load. I am a servant of the Most High God. When I serve others, I'm serving Christ. Winston Churchill, and I'll leave you with this. Winston Churchill said this: we make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. Man, that's so true. We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. We're carriers of the kingdom. We should be. Father,